जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवर धारी गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवर धारी गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवर धारी गोपी जन गिरिवर धारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय राधा जय यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन जय यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन जय यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन जय यमुना तीरवन चारी यमुना तीरवन चारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा हरे हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम Ram Ram Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna
चरणारविंद भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय हो। नित्य लीला प्रविष्ट ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य वर्य अष्टोत्तर शत श्री श्रीमद हिज डिवाइन ग्रेस भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी महाराज श्रील प्रभुपाद की ग्रंथराज श्री श्री भक्ति रसामृत सिंधु की The Nectar of Devotion Evening Seminar की युग धर्म श्री हरिनाम संकीर्तन की समवेत भक्त वृंद की निताई गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल हरि हरि बोल हरि हरि बोल। No. I want the volume to be little more louder. Can you try? Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalaakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupah Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guroho Shri Uttamalakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijanasahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha
हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधो दीनबंधो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। श्रीकृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna. At the very onset of present day's discourse, I would like to initially offer my most respectfully prostrated obeisances unto the lotus feet of their divine conjugal lordships, Shri Shri Radha and Neel Madhava Devi, along with their eternal transcendental companions such as Shri Lalita Devi, Shri Vishakha Devi, Shri Rupati Manjari, etc. And along with them, I would also like to submit my most respectfully and submissively prostrated homages unto the lotus feet of their divine lordships, Shri Shri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Shri Shri Nityananda Prabhu, along with their transcendental perpetual entourage and associates such as Srila Rupa Goswami, Srila Sanatana Goswami, and all the 6 Goswamis of Shri Dham Vrindavan. Finally, I would also like to offer my due respects and obeisances unto the lotus feet of His Divine Grace, Abhay Charanarvinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, who has been an adept, very artistically and skillfully propagated and has dispersed the doctrine and gospels of Krishna consciousness imbued with pure devotional transcendental sentiments throughout this world in this present modern era in most unique and fantastic, unprecedented way. Conclusively, I would also like to pay my obeisances and due honorary respects unto the lotus feet of all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord present herein, and thereafter I would now like to commence the proposed topic and context of our discussion, especially the topic concerning the nectar of devotion, alias Shri Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, compiled by Srila Rupa Goswami Prabhupada. As we have been continuously discussing since past 2 days of our seminar, and as the current day of our seminar is forming the last day of the session, we will describe the expansive scientific nature concerning the path of pure devotion known as Shuddha Bhakti, also known as the topmost form of devotion or the most exalted type of devotion known as Uttama Bhakti, as recorded by Srila Rupa Goswami in his treatise The Nectar of Devotion. As we learned from our 2 days previous sessions, how Srila Rupa Goswami is the foremost and most intimate and one of the most significant associates of Shri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu during his Pragat Gaura, during his manifest pastimes in 3 places, namely Navadvip Mandal, Kshetra Mandal, and Navadvip Mandal, Kshetra Mandal, and Vraj Mandal. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has performed his sportive, munificent pastimes in all of these 3 places, known as Gauda Mandal, that comprises Navadvip and Mayapur area, then Kshetra Mandal, which comprises Jagannath Puri area, and the third part of his pastimes that he has displayed is in the Vraj Mandal, that comprises of all the transcendental places, Leela Sthalis, where Shri Krishna had performed his pastimes 5,000 years before. So during his manifest pastimes, During Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's manifest pastimes known as Gaur Leela, Pragat Gaur Leela, in all these three places, Srila Rupa Goswami has been one of his most intimate associates, and that is why Srila Narottama Das Thakur has prayed in Prema Bhakti Chandrika, Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupaha Kadamahyam Tadati Swakantikam. And then again Srila Raghunath Das Goswami has also prayed in his Mukta Charitra by saying unto Rupa Goswami, Adadana Strinam Dantairidam Yachay Punaha Punaha Srimad Rupa Padam Bhoja Dhunihisyam Janma Janmani, that I yearn after, or I request repeatedly the lotus feet of Rupa Goswami, that may the lotus feet of Rupa Goswami grant me the greatest benediction of not being the servant of Rupa Goswami, of not being the dust attached to Rupa Goswami's lotus feet, but of being just one molecule or one particle found within the innumerable particles forming the transcendental dust which is attached and annexed to the lotus feet of Srila Rupa Goswami. I just want to be that one single molecule and particle forming his transcendental dust of his lotus feet. So this is the bhava, this is the sentiment, this is the internal mood of Srila Raghunath Das Goswami. Likewise, all the acharyas, all the transcendental spiritual preceptors, coming in the line, coming in the transcendental preceptorial lineage of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's teachings, they have all accepted their allegiance back to Srila Rupa Goswami, and therefore His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, the founder Acharya of our institution, he has written in the very beginning of the preface to the Nectar of Instruction, which is also known as Sri Upadeshamritam. So, in the Nectar of Instruction, Upadeshamritam, to that book, Srila Prabhupada has written in the very first paragraph that actually the real in charge of this Krishna consciousness movement is Srila Rupa Goswami. Why? Why all the acharyas of Sri Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya are claiming their allegiance to Srila Rupa Goswami, and therefore all these acharyas coming after Srila Rupa Goswami, succeeding Srila Rupa Goswami, are known as Rupanuga acharyas, or the staunch and steadfast followers of Srila Rupa Goswami. But why? Why are they all following Rupa Goswami? The single reason is that Rupa Goswami is the most important pillar of this preceptorial line descending from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, because he is successful in fulfilling the innermost desire of Sri Gaurasundar Mahaprabhu, Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale, and while fulfilling that innermost desire, while in the process of fulfilling that innermost desire of Srimad Mahaprabhu, and that innermost desire is to distribute Raganuga Bhakti, Ragatmika Bhakti, to reveal the nature of Raganuga and Ragatmika Bhaktis, and especially to reveal and illuminate the principle and the siddhant of Vrajaras. Vrajaras means the transcendental stage of devotion which is displayed within the eternal associates of Sri Krishna, Sri Radha and Govinda in their Vrindavan pastimes. So all these Vrajavasi associates, all these transcendental associates of Sri Radha and Govinda in the Nitya Leela of Vrindavan, in the eternal pastimes of Vrindavan, Vraj Bhumi, like Sri Ram, Subal, Madhumangal, Stok Krishna, like Nandi Yashoda, Vrishabhanu, Kirtida Sundari, like Srimati Radhika, Lalita Vishakha, Ruparati Manjari, etc., and like Raktaka Patraka Chitraka, etc. All these transcendental associates of Sri Radha and Govinda are found in the eternal pastimes of Vrindavan in all the 5 types of relationships, namely Shanta, Dasya, Sakhya, Vatsalya and Shringar, namely the passive state of devotion, then the active or servitude form of devotion, then the devotion in the mood of fraternity, then the devotion in the mood of parental affection, and then finally the 5th type of devotion is the devotion in the transcendental value of conjugal love. So all these 5 types of devotional services which are displayed by the eternal associates, by the Nitya Siddha Parshadas of Vrindavan's eternal pastimes, in order to reveal the nature of those devotional practices of these eternal associates of the Lord, Srila Rupa Goswami and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu have combined their efforts, and therefore Srila Rupa Goswami, in fulfilling the mission of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, has compiled books like Sri Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Sri Ujjwala Neelmani, Sri Vidagdha Madhav Natakam, Sri Lalit Madhav Natakam, Sri Hansadut, Sri Uddhava Sandesh, Sri Padyavali, etc. And by writing and compiling all these major books, which are the pillar of this sampradaya, of this Brahmamatma Gaudiya Vaishnava sampradaya, Srila Rupa Goswami has been successful in establishing the real purpose, the real factual mission of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's advent. Actually, the real purpose of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's advent is not even to propagate Harinam Sankirtan or the congregational chanting of the Lord's holy name. Why? Now, we are coming to the real point. What is that significant highlight which makes Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his associates different from all the other incarnations of Sri Krishna, different from all the other acharyas of Bhakti Marg? What is that significant highlight? The significant highlight is, one can say that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's sole ambition was to establish the propagation of Harinam Sankirtan or the congregational chanting of the holy names of the Lord. But that is not the real purpose why Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has incarnated with his associates. Propagation of Harinam Sankirtan is taking place in every Chaturyugi and every cycle of 4 yugas. But Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu comes only once in 1000 Kali-yugas. But in every Kali-yuga, the Yugavatar of that specific Kali-yuga propagates Harinam Sankirtan. Then what new contribution has Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu given? That's the point. That is why in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Leela, Shri Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, he explains, he elucidates this point in the 3rd, 4th and 5th chapters of that book by saying that there are 3 reasons of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's advent on this earthly domain. There are 3 reasons. There are 3 causes for his appearance. His and his associates' appearance. There are 3 causes. The first cause is known as the most external cause for the appearance of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Most external cause means it is just a pretext of appearance, it's not the real reason of appearance. Then the second cause for Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's appearance is known as intermediate type of cause. Not so external, not so internal, not so much exterior, not so much superficial, not so much floating on the surface, not so much shallowish, and also not so much deeper or forming the interior core part. Intermediate type of cause. And the real cause for his appearance is known as Antarangtam Karan, which means the most internal reason, the factual reason why Sri Chaitanya Dev has appeared. The factual reason. So, according to Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami in Chaitanya Charitamrita, the most external reason for Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's and his associates' advent is to propagate Harinam Sankirtan. Why? Why has Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami put Harinam Sankirtan's propagation as an external reason for Mahaprabhu's advent? It's just a superficial reason, it's just a pretext. Oh, it's a coincidence. Activity done by sight. It's activity done by sight. It's not the real purpose why Mahaprabhu has appeared. Sometimes we perform 2 tasks together. But the second task that we are performing is we are performing just because of coincidence. It's not, our real purpose is to perform first task and not the second task, but still we are performing the second task. In the same way, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has propagated Harinam Sankirtan. Now, what is the basis of saying the propagation of Harinam Sankirtan is the external reason for Mahaprabhu's advent? What is the proof? What is the evidence? How it is concluded that the external reason for Mahaprabhu's appearance is the propagation of Harinam Sankirtan. How it is concluded? Because the Shastras have very clearly stated that in every Kali-yuga, the Yugavatar of the Lord incarnates. In every Kali-yuga, the Yugavatar of the Lord incarnates So, in every Dwapar Yuga also, the Yugavatar of the Lord incarnates. So, in every Treta Yuga also, the Yugavatar of the Lord incarnates. And so, in every Satya Yuga also, the Yugavatar of the Lord incarnates. Because there are 4 yugas in one cycle. One cycle is known as Chaturyugi. Eka Chaturyugi. One cycle. Because there are 4 yugas, namely Satya, Treta, Dwapar and Kali, in one Chaturyugi. So, in all the 4 yugas, in all the 4 millenniums, so to speak, in all the 4 different types of eras, so to speak, each different yuga incarnation, also known as Yuga Avatar, incarnates and presides over that millennium and establishes the specific religious duty of that millennium. And as we described in Srimad Bhagavatam, it has been stated, Kriteyatyayato Vishnum Tretayam Yajato Makhaihai Dvapare Paricharyayam Kalau Tathai Kirtanat. It has been stated that Kriteyatyayato Vishnu in Satya Yuga or Krita Yuga, the specific religious duty is to meditate on the Lord. In Treta Yuga, the specific religious duty or specific form of devotion is to perform lavish and opulent, huge sacrifices. Then in Dwapar Yuga, the specific form of religion is to worship the deity form, and in Kali Yuga, the specific form of religion is to perform Harinam Sankirtan, Krishna Nam Sankirtan, the congregational chanting of the names of Lord Hari. So, there are 4 Yugavatars. As Sri Gargacharya Mahamuni explains in the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, while doing the Namakarana Sanskar, while doing the name giving ceremony of Sri Krishna in the cowshed of Nanda Maharaj, in a very confidential way, in a very covert form, in a very covert and confidential way, when Gargacharya Mahamuni is performing the Namakarana Sanskar of both Sri Krishna and Balaram, so that the spies of Kansa will not be able to know. At that time in Srimad Bhagavatam, Gargacharya Mahamuni, while giving name to Sri Krishna, while assigning a nomenclature to Sri Krishna, he has said that this Sri Krishna, oh Gargacharya, this child of yours is no ordinary child. And then he says that this child takes 4 different incarnations in 4 different yugas, namely Yuga Avatars. So he says that Asataranas Trayohyasya Krihnato Yugam Tanuhu Shuklo Raktastatha Pita Idami Krishnatam Gataha. This child has already taken 4 Yuga Avatars, namely Shuklavatar in Satya Yuga, Raktavatar in Treta Yuga, Shyamavatar in Dwapar Yuga, and Pitavatar in Kali Yuga. So, these Yugavatars, according to Sri Rupa Goswami's Raghu Bhagavatamritam, wherein Rupa Goswami has, on the basis of different scriptures and different corollaries of Vedic literatures, Rupa Goswami has established Yugavatars as merely partial expansions of Kshirodakshayi Vishnu, also known as Payodhishayi Vishnu. As we discussed day before yesterday's session, there are 3 types of Vishnus. Vishnostu trini rupani purushakhya yathoviduhu. There are 3 types of Vishnu forms, namely Kshirodakshayi, Garbhodakshayi and Karamdakshayi. So the Kshirodakshayi Vishnu, the 3rd Purush incarnation among the 3 Purush avatars, Kshirodakshayi is the 3rd Purush incarnation, 3rd and the last. So the last Purush incarnation, Kshirodakshayi Vishnu, from him these 4 Yugavatars emanate. So, Swayam Rupa Swayam Bhagavan is the adolescent, aged Shri Krishna of Vrindavan. From him expands Shri Balaram of Vrindavan, who is known as Tadekatma Swarup. From that Balaram of Vrindavan expands as Prabhav Prakash, the first quadruple expansion of Mathura and Dwarka, which in turn consists of Vasudeva, Sankarsana, Pradyumna and Aniruddha. Namo Bhagavate Tobhyam Vasudevaya Dhimahi Pradyumnaya Aniruddhaya Namaha Sankarshanaya Cha. Then, from that first quadruple expansion known as Adi Chaturvyuha, from that first quadruple expansion of Mathura and Dwarka, again expands second quadruple expansion known as Dvitiya Chaturvyuha. And the second quadruple expansion also comprises of Vasudeva, Sankarsana, Pradyumna and Aniruddha. But the second quadruple expansion inhabits in Mahavaikuntha, whereas the first quadruple expansion inhabits in Mathura and Dwarka. The first quadruple expansions are all two-handed forms, whereas the second quadruple expansions are all four-handed forms. Now, this is all based on the 5th chapter of the Adi Leela of Chaitanya Charitamrita. So, and also according to Laghu Bhagavatamritam. So now the second quadruple expansion of Mahavaikuntha, which is encircling Mahanarayan on the four sides. Mahanarayan is the centralmost deity found in Paravyom Mahavaikuntha. In the four directions, in the four corners, Ishan Kon, Vayavya Kon, Naigrita Kon and Agneya Kon, in the four corners, surrounding, encircling Mahanarayan of Vaikuntha, are found, located and placed these four deities, Vasudeva, Sankarshan, Pradyumna and Aniruddha. So, from the Sankarshan of the second quadruple expansion of Vaikuntha, emanates and expands the first Purusha incarnation, Karanadakshayi Vishnu, who is also known as Mahavishnu. From Karanadakshayi Vishnu expands Garbhodakshayi, second Purusha incarnation, second Purusha. And from him incarnates Kshirodakshayi, the third Purusha avatar. And Kshirodakshayi's expansions are these four Yuga avatars, namely Raktavatar, Pitavatar, Shuklavatar and Shravavatar. So, as we discussed yesterday, or in day before yesterday's session, Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, is he incarnation of Kshirodakshayi Vishnu? No. He is not an incarnation of Shri Kshirodakshayi Vishnu. He is not an incarnation of Shri Narayan even. He is not incarnation of the Dwarkadish Krishna of Mathura, of Dwarka. He is not even incarnation of Mathuradish Krishna of Mathura. But he is not even incarnation of Vrindavan Bihari Govindadev or the Shyam Sundar of Shri Vrindavan. He is not even incarnation of him. But rather, he is the Vrindavan Bihari Govindadev himself. Because if we say that he is incarnation, then it would mean that he is avatar. But he is avatari himself. The Swayam Bhagavan, Swayam Rupa form of Shri Krishna, who is always presiding over Shri Vrindavan Dham, is rather known as avatari or Anshi. So Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, being non-different from that avatari tattva, from being Shyam Sundar of Vrindavan, that is why he cannot be considered avatar or incarnation, but rather he is the self-same as Shri Krishna of Vrindavan, and because he is the self-same as Govinda of Vrindavan, he is the reservoir, he is the fountain's head, he is the Samanbharam, he is the original root source of all the other incarnations, expansions of Shri Krishna. That is why now question arises that from where it is corroborated, from which part of the scriptures it is corroborated or it is substantiated that Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is not an expansion of Kshirodakshayi Vishnu, is not Yugavatar for Kaliyug, but rather he is a Swayam Roop, Swayam Bhagavan Krishna of Vrindavan. From which part of the Shastra is this conclusion supported? So, from Garud Puran, this is one of the 80 different evidences that we have, but there is no need of expanding the amount of evidences, and because only one evidence is sufficient to prove this point. Because all the parts of the scriptures are equally powerful. So, even if you adopt the quantity of evidences proving Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to be Radha and Krishna combined, it will not make any difference. Only one evidence is sufficient. As we do not have the time and as the session is not especially focused on that part, that is why we will, in synopsis, we will just give one evidence claiming and proving that Shri Chaitanya Dev is the combined incarnation of Shri Radha and Shri Krishna. So, Bhagavan Vyasadeva, in his one of the 18 Puranas that he has compiled, one of the 18 different Puranas that Vyasadeva has compiled, Garud Puran is one of the principal 18 Mahapuranas. In Garud Puran, it has been described by Vyasadeva, Yore me sahapallavi ramaya vrindavane hardisham Yah kansam nijadhana kauravarane Yah pandavanam sakha Soyam Vaishnav केशवदण्ड मंडित भुजः संन्यासवेशः स्वयं निःसन्देहमुपागतः क्षितितले चैतन्यरूपः प्रभुः. So Vyasadeva, while he is compiling Garud Puran at the end of Dwapar Yuga, he is writing, Yo Reme Sah Vallavi Ramayate. That Shri Krishna of Vrindavan, who performed his conjugal dalliances and amorous pastimes with the cowherd damsels of Vrindavan. Vallavi means goat, cowherd, and Vallavi means cowherd women. So that Shri Krishna who performed sportive pastimes. Ramana means to perform pastime, and Ramayate means to perform amorous pastimes. With whom? With the Brajavallavis, with the Brajagopanganas, with the cowherd damsels of Vrindavan. Your Reme, and Reme means one who already performed. Past tense is indicated. By the very use of the verb Reme, past tense is indicated according to Sanskrit grammar. Your Reme Sah Vallavi, one who already performed his pastimes with the cowherd damsels of Vrindavan during his manifest pastimes, during his Pragat Leela. But that is not sufficient. One who is still performing pastimes with the cowherd damsels of Vrindavan during the unmanifest pastimes of Vrindavan. You see, there are two pastimes occurring in Vrindavan Dham: manifest Pragat Leela and unmanifest Apragat Leela. So Pragat Leela occurs only once. So Pragat Leela already has been completed. So while denoting the Pragat Leela, Vyasadeva says that Shri Krishna who already has performed his amorous pastimes with the gopis of Vrindavan, but while indicating the Apragat Leela or the unmanifest eternal continuous pastimes which are even now happening every day in Vrindavan Dham, for indicating that pastime, Vyasadeva is using the present tense word known as Ramayate. Ramayate Vrindavane Aharnisham. Aharnisham means who is continuously. Aharnisham doesn't mean that who has completed his performance of sportive pastimes with the cowherd damsels of Vrindavan and that now he is not performing. No. Aharnisham means who is incessantly, who is uninterruptingly, who is continuously performing pastimes without any break. Aharnisham means continuous. Aharnisham has the same meaning as Satatam and as Nirantaram. Nirantaram is Satatam means continuous. Aharnisham has the same meaning. So one who is even now, Ramayate is present tense, Reme is past tense. Your Reme Sah Vallavi Ramayate Vrindavane Aharnisham. One who already during the manifest pastimes has performed his pastimes with the cowherd damsels of Vrindavan, but even now during the unmanifest eternal continuously going pastimes, he is still performing his sportive pastimes with the gopis of Vrindavan in an incessant way. That Shri Krishna of Vrindavan, who is performing pastimes in both ways, in Apragat Leela and in Pragat Leela, that Shri Krishna who also had killed Kans during his Pragat Leela, during his manifest pastime. Now, killing of demons doesn't happen during the unmanifest pastime. Killing of demons never occurs during the unmanifest pastimes, Apragat Leela. Killing of demons only happens during the manifest pastimes of Pragat Leela. So, because Pragat Leela has already been completed, that is why Vyasadeva is using past tense for indicating the killing of Kans done by Krishna, Nijadhan. Nijadhana means one who has already killed. He doesn't use present tense because killing of demons it's not an eternal activity happening every now and then. Because killing of demons is part of Pragat Leela, manifest pastime, and since the manifest pastime occurs only once in one day of Brahma, and since it has already been completed, so only past tense is used. Yah kansam nijadhan kauravarane yah pandavanam sakha. And even the Mahabharata war occurs only in the manifest pastimes of Krishna, not in the unmanifest pastime. In the unmanifest pastimes of Dwarkapuri, Nitya Apragat Leela of Dwarka, there is nothing like Mahabharata war. Or that the Vasudeva Krishna of Dwarka will go to Hastinapur or Kurukshetra. No. Because the unmanifest pastimes of Dwarka are taking place in the transcendental Dwarka. which is located above Vaikuntha. And there is no Hastinapur or Kurukshetra above Vaikuntha. That's why no question arises of Vasudeva Krishna of Dwarka going to participate in the Mahabharata war. So in the Apragat Leela of Dwarka, the Mahabharata war never occurs. And the Krishna of Dwarka never visits Hastinapur or Kurukshetra for being a participant in the Mahabharata war. So that is why again the past tense has been used. Kauravarani yah Pandavanam Sakha, one who was during the manifest pastimes of Dwarka Leela, 5,000 years before, one who was manifest as a friend of Arjun, yah Pandavanam Sakha, during the Kauravarani, during the war of Mahabharata happening in the Kurukshetra. That Shri Krishna, who has been the friend of Arjuna, who has killed Kansa in the arena of Mathura, and who has performed and is still performing the sportive pastimes and amorous dalliances with his cowherd damsels, that Shri Krishna certainly. So Ayam, Saha, that Shri Krishna now, Ayam means now, that Shri Krishna now has turned himself into a little diverse complexion and into a little diverse outlook. He has manifested somewhat a variant outlook and appearance. His countenance is now somewhat variant, not exactly as his Krishna form. That same Krishna of Vrindavan now has a little variant outlook. And what type of outlook he is now possessing? Vaishnava Danta Mandita Bhujaha. Now his bhuja, his arms, are mandita, are decorated, are adorned with Vaishnava Danda, with the Sannyasa Danda. Not advocating the Advaitavadi Nishtha, not advocating the allegiance towards Advaitavad or Mayavad or Shankaracharya, but advocating allegiance towards the Vaishnava philosophy. Why? Vaishnava Danda has been used. One can pose an argument here. No. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has taken sannyas order from Sri Swami Keshav Bharati. And Sri Swami Keshav Bharati is coming from the Dashtam Sannyas Sampradaya founded by Adi Shankaracharya. So Sri Swami Keshav Bharati is a staunch Shankarite. Wearing this Tripundra Tilak on his forehead. This Tripundra Tilak. And from him, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has took sannyas order in Katwa, in Kanchan Gram, in the village known as Kanchan, in West Bengal. So, the sannyas danda which was given to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was naturally ek danda, single staff, not the three dandas, not the three staffs given in the Vaishnava Sampradayas. So, one can pose a question that why has Vedavyasa used the word Vaishnava danda here? Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu never took a Vaishnava danda, his danda was a Mayavadi danda, ek danda. Advocating, ek danda means, ek danda advocates oneness. Ek means one. So single staff given in Shankar line advocates oneness of the living entity with absolute truth. Jivatma and Parabrahma. That is why Adi Shankaracharya propounded the philosophy of mind, stating that Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya Jivo Brahmaiva Napara. That this material world is completely an illusion, like a dreamy state. And the living entities found in diverse conditions are only one, not so many. And those living entities are completely not different from Parabrahma Shri Krishna, the absolute truth. So, in order to indicate this oneness of living entity with the God, in the Mayavadi line, the single staff is given. But the Vaishnava danda is usually of three staffs, indicating Kayik, Vachik and Manasik Sharanagati, indicating bodily surrender, mental surrender, and vocal surrender unto the lotus feet of the Lord. Kayena vacha manasendriyaiva buddhyatmana va prakrita swabhava karami yadyad sakalam parasmai narayanayeti samarpayetat. This is the verse, this is the shloka of Srimad Bhagavatam 11th canto. So, Shri Krishna, while he is instructing Uddhava in the 11th canto of Bhagavatam, he is explaining the process of surrender. Process of surrender is done fourfold. Kayik Sharanagati, Kayik Prapatti, Ramanuja puts it as Prapatti. Ramanand Sampradaya, instead of the word Sharanagati, the word Prapatti is used. So, Kayik Prapatti, Kayiki Prapatti, Vachiki Prapatti and Manasiki Prapatti. But the surrender is not only threefold, it is fourfold. So the fourth type of surrender, you may surrender your mind, you may surrender your body and physical senses, you may surrender your faculty of speech and your vocality in the service of the Lord. But what about your own surrender? The surrender of the Atma. You are only surrendering Man, Vani and Sharir. But what about your own self? Come to the real point, which is the root cause of surrender. Your surrender will be considered authorized if you will surrender first. So, the Atmiki Sharanagati, the surrender of the spirit soul itself unto the lotus feet of the Lord is known as Atmiki Sharanagati, or the surrender of the self. So, actually, Tridanda is known as Tridanda only literally, but it has four dandas. The fourth danda is the half semi-circle, semi-oval shaped danda. So that semi-oval shaped danda is the fourth danda, which is annexed with the Tridanda. So in total there are four dandas. So three dandas, the three vertical dandas indicate body, mind and speech, and the fourth semi-oval shaped danda, crooked danda, indicates Jivatma. So surrender is done fourfold. Etam samasthaya paratmanishtham. This is the verse from Srimad Bhagavatam 11th canto, sung by the Avanti Brahman, sung by the Brahman of Ujjain, who took sannyas. And that same verse was repeated by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu after he took sannyas, indicating that I have taken sannyas to etamsa asthaya mukunda paratmanishtham. I have indicated sannyas, not advocating the Advaitvadi nishtha, not advocating the allegiance towards Mayavad of Shankaracharya. But I have taken sannyas for indicating the service and surrender unto the lotus feet of the personality of Godhead, Lord Mukunda, Mukunda Nishtha. So, even though Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has taken Ekadanda sannyas, indicating so-called oneness of the Jivatma with the Parabrahma, but that is only superficial. His real mood is of a Vaishnava sannyasi. That is why he has recited this verse from Srimad Bhagavatam after he has taken in order Mukunda Nishadhrayaiva. In order to serve the lotus feet of Lord Mukunda, I have taken sannyas. Very clearly Mahaprabhu states and quotes this shloka of Bhagavatam sung by the Avanti Brahman. So, even though superficially, externally speaking or externally apparently looking, Mahaprabhu has taken Ekadanda sannyas from the Mayavad Sampradaya, but his Antarik Nishtha, his real internal mood is to serve the lotus feet of the Lord. So internal mood is what is most prominent, not the external formality. It is also said in the scriptures, in Vishnu Puran, that Murkho vadati Vishnaya, Dhiro vadati Vishnave, Ubhayostu samam punyam, Bhavagrahi Janardanaha. Murkho vadati Vishnaya. A person who is not cognizant of Sanskrit grammar and grammatical rules, rather says Vishnaya. I, Vishnaya Namaha. I pay my obeisances to Vishnu, and Vishnaya is a round form. But a dhir, but a scholar, but an empiric pedant, rather, reforms the statement in a right way and uses the correct form of usage, Vishnave. Dhiro vadati Vishnave. Scholar says Vishnave, and a village tribal person says Vishnaya. Or a village man or a tribal person who has no knowledge of the Sanskrit grammar, a foolish rascal, he says Vishnaya, and a scholar says Vishnave. But Ubhayostu samam punyam. The benefit accumulated by both the scholar's recitation and by the ignorant's recitation is the same type of benefit. Ubhayostu samam punyam bhavagrahi janardanaha. Because Janardana, the Lord Krishna, is bhavagrahi, is taking the essence of your heart and not the formality. And that is why even the formality is that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has taken Ekadanda sannyas. His real internal allegiance and dedication is towards Vaishnava sannyas. That is why Sri Vyasadeva has purposefully used the word Vaishnava Danda Mandita Bhujaha, or whose arms will be adorned with Vaishnava Danda, not with the Mayavadi Danda. Because the internal mood is of a Vaishnava sannyasi and not of a Mayavadi sannyasi.
So Soyam Vaishnava Dandamandita Bhujaha Sannyasa Veshaha Swayam. That Sri Chaitanya that Sri Krishna of Vrindavan, who killed Kansa, who became friend of Arjuna, and who performed his erotic and aesthetic pastimes with the cowherd damsels of Vrindavan, will now take on a form of a sannyasi. He himself, not in his expansion, not in a form of an expansion, not in a form of an incarnation, not in Anish Roop, or not in a Kala Roop, or not in a Avatar Roop, or not in a Prabhu Prakash Vaibhav Vilas Roop. No. Shri Krishna Vrindavan himself will incarnate. That is why the word Swayam has been used. Swayam. Shri Krishna of Vrindavan, the Govind Deva of Vrindavan, who is always displaying his adolescence in the eternal pastimes of Golok Vrindavan. That Shri Krishna Swayam, not in his expansion or incarnation form. Not in his Kala and Ansharup. No. That Shri Krishna of Vrindavan himself, Swayam, will incarnate and without any doubt, without any scope of suspicion, without any jurisdiction promoting any type of doubt in this matter, Nisandeha, Shri Chaitanya Deva will come on this mundane platform, Kshititale, Chaitanya Rupa Prabhu, in the form of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So, this is the praman, this is the evidence that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is not an expansion of Shri Daksha Vishnu, is not a Yuga. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is not a Yuga of Kali Yuga. But what has happened when Swayam Bhagavan Krishna incarnates once in a day of Brahma on this earth? At that time, all the different incarnations of the Lord and expansions of the Lord, like Narayan, all the three Vishnus, the first and second quadruple expansion, the Vasudeva of Dwarka and the Keshav Deva of Mathura, all these other forms of Shri Krishna, they merge into Shri Krishna of Vrindavan, and then the Shri Krishna of Vrindavan manifests his Leela once in a day of Brahma as Pragat Leela, as manifest pastimes at the end of Dwarka. Similarly, because Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is not an expansion or incarnation of Swayam Bhagavan Krishna, but he is rather himself the Swayam Bhagavan Krishna. That is why when he incarnates during his Pragat Leela, during his manifest pastimes 523 years ago or before, at that time the same rule applies, same thing happens. That means all the incarnations and expansions of Shri Krishna like Ram, Narayan, Narsingha, Matsya, Kurma, Varaha, etc., including the Krishna of Dwarka, Mathura, they all merge into Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's personality. So now, because the Yugavatar of Kali Yuga was also going to appear at the same time when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu chose to appear. So what has happened? The Yugavatar of Kali Yuga, as a coincidence, has merged himself into the personality of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And this is very clearly explained by Sri Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami in the Adi Leela of Chaitanya Charitamrita. So, because the Yugavatar of Kali Yuga, it is his duty to propagate Harinam Sankirtan. And Yugavatar of Kali Yuga is a small expansion of Kshirodakshai Vishnu. Nothing compared to Swayam Roop, Swayam Bhagavan of Vrindavan, Shri Krishna. So Yugavatar of Kali Yuga, the expansion of Kshirodakshai Vishnu, it is he who is performing the propagation of Harinam Sankirtan, being situated within the transcendental personality of Shri Mahaprabhu Chaitanya Dev. And that is why that is not the real purpose of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's incarnation. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is actually the combined form of Shri Radha and Krishna. His real purpose of incarnation is not to propagate Harinam Sankirtan. That is a coincidental activity that he has done. Actually, he has not even done. It seems that he has done, but actually the expansion of Kshirodakshai Vishnu, who merged himself into Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he is doing all that through Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The actual Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Radha and Krishna combined. So Radha and Krishna combined together, they have appeared for fulfilling two purposes. So the first purpose that they have come to fulfill is the intermediate reason for their appearance, known as the propagation of Raganuga and Ragatmika forms of devotion, and the propagation especially of Unnat Ujjhal Ras, that is the highest transcendental devotional mellow found in Vrindavan, especially the conjugal mood of Srimati Radharani and all the different maid servants of Srimati Radharani towards Shri Krishna. That Gopi Bhav,
that Manjari Bhav, the mood of being a maid servant of Sri Radha and Krishna, that mood Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that Unnat Ujjwal Ras, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has come to propagate. But this is one of the actual reasons, but it is still not one of the most prominent reasons. That is why it is considered an intermediate reason for Mahaprabhu's appearance. And the most prominent actual reason for Mahaprabhu's appearance, the first reason is superficial reason. Superficial. It's just a pretext. The second intermediate reason is one of the actual reasons, but not as prominent as the third one. So the third most prominent actual reason for Mahaprabhu's appearance, which is internal reason, is that Shri Krishna of Vrindavan, he wants to fulfill three desires which have become manifest in his mind. And those three desires Shri Krishna of Vrindavan could not have fulfilled if he remained as Krishna in Vrindavan. That is why he had to incarnate as Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in a different form. As long as Shri Krishna remains Ashraya, as long as Shri Krishna remains Vishaya Vigraha means object of love. As long as Shri Krishna remains object of love, he will not be able to fulfill his three desires. But as soon as he transforms himself into the shelter of love, Ashraya Vigraha, as long as he is Vishaya Vigraha, he will not be able to understand. As long as he is object of love. But as soon as he transforms himself into shelter of love, Ashraya Vigraha, he is immediately able to understand and fulfill his three desires. And those three desires that arose in the mind of Shri Krishna are Shri Radhaya Pranaya Mahima Kitrishayanayaiva Svadyo Yainad Mudamudurima Kitrishavva Madiyah Sakhyam Chasya Madam Bhavata Kitrisham Vettilobhar Tadbhavakyah Samajani Shaki Karvasindhau Harinduhu. In the very first chapter of Chaitanya Charitamritam, in invocation, Mangalacharam, Krishnadas Kaviraj says, the real reason for Mahaprabhu's appearance is that Shri Krishna of Vrindavan had three desires in his mind. First desire is, when Srimati Radhika serves me through unmotivated, selfless love and dedication, what is the nature of her love? I want to know the nature of her love. Krishna cannot understand the nature of Radhika's love as long as Krishna himself doesn't become imbued with the same mood that the Radhika has. You cannot understand somebody's love for you, somebody's affection for you. You can only taste the affection that somebody is giving to you, but you cannot really know the internal upheavals, up and downs, and internal different forms of variations of that love as long as you yourself do not start containing that love. You can only taste the love given by someone to you, but you cannot understand all the different diversities of that love until and unless you yourself start possessing that love. So, Shri Krishna of Vrindavan, first desire was to understand what type of love Srimati Radhika has for me. That cannot be done as long as he stays as Krishna. He has to become imbued with the mood of Srimati Radhika. That is why Shri Krishna undertook the mood of Srimati Radhika, the love of Srimati Radhika, known as Madanakhya Mahabhava himself. Now, the second desire is, after that Srimati Radhika performs her selfless and affectionate services unto me, full of love and devotion, the sweetness of my transcendental form, Krishna Madhurya, Krishna Vigraha Madhurya, the sweetness of my transcendental form that Srimati Radhika relishes through her devotion and love, what is the nature of that sweetness of my transcendental form? Now, Krishna cannot understand the nature of the sweetness of his own transcendental form as long as he stays in that form as Krishna. How can you understand how beautiful you are and how sweet you are as long as you are in the mood of being an object of love? It's not possible. So in order to understand what type of sweetness Krishna is, possessing, Krishna wanted to again undergo the mood and sentiment of Srimati Radharani, the shelter of love. As long as he remains object of love, he cannot do that. And the third reason, the third desire was, after that Srimati Radhika relishes my unexcelled sweetness, my incomparable sweetness and madhurya, what kind of pleasure she feels, what kind of felicity, transcendental pleasure she feels. Now this also Krishna cannot understand as long as he stays as Krishna, as the object of love. as Vishaya Vigraha. So, in order to understand these three desires, Shri Krishna of Vrindavan had to undergo both the outer complexion of Srimati Radhika, had to undertake both the outer complexion of Srimati Radhika, that is the complexion of being molten gold, and he had to also undertake the internal mood of Srimati Radhika, known as Madhanakya Mahabhav, and that is why that Shri Krishna has appeared. The most prominent reason for his appearance of Mahaprabhu is to fulfill the three desires for his own personal sake. And the second actual reason for his appearance is to distribute and propagate, especially that form of devotion which is known as Raga and Ragatmika Bhakti, and that form of devotion had never been distributed before by any other incarnation of Shri Krishna, by Shri Krishna himself, and by any other Rishi, Maharshi, saint, scholar, or any other Acharya of Bhakti Marg. And that is why Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, while praying into Rupa Goswami, he says in Madhurya Kadambini, he says, Bhakti purvai shritatam turasam pashyed yadantadhihi. Bhakti purvai shritatam turasam pashyed yadantadhihi. Tam naumi satatam rupam nama priyajanam harehe. I always submit my reverential obeisances unto the Srila Rupa Goswami, who is the most intimate associate of Lord Hari, known as Chaitanya Dev. Who, by whose mercy only, that Srila Rupa Goswami, unto him I submit my adoration. By whose mercy only one is able to understand devotional service of Shri Krishna as a rasa, as being full of transcendental mellows. That devotional service of Shri Krishna can be understood as rasatmika bhakti, as being full of transcendental juicy mellows, only through the mercy of Srila Rupa Goswami. Why? Because Srila Rupa Goswami, in the history of the whole day of Brahma, whole Kalp, Srila Rupa Goswami is the first person, upon the inspiration and upon getting the blessings of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Srila Rupa Goswami is the first person in the whole day of Brahma to write Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, explaining logically and based on scriptural basis devotional service as full of the 12 types of mellows, 5 being the primary and 7 being the secondary mellows, in total combined 12 mellows. And that is why Bhakti Rupa Goswami is known as Adi Bhakti Rasa Prasthapanacharya, the first Acharya who has established Bhakti on the basis of a Rasa Shastra. No other Acharya, including Ramanuj, Ramanand, Nimbark, Vishnu Swami, Vallabh, Madhva, no other Acharya, Shankar, etc., no other Acharya, no other sage like Gargacharya, Vyasadeva, Valmiki, Narad, Shandil, no other incarnation of Sri Krishna, and even Sri Krishna himself had established Bhakti on the basis of a Rasa Shastra. For that, Sri Krishna had to incarnate as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and through his two principal commanders-in-chief of his army, two Senapatis. Krishnadas Kaviraj uses the word Senapati for Rupa and Sanatan. For indicating Rupa Goswami and Sanatan Goswami, Krishnadas indicates the word Senapati. These are the two commander-in-chiefs of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's army. And the task was given by Mahaprabhu to establish Bhakti on the basis of Rasa Shastra, to explain Bhakti, how Bhakti contains Vibhav, how Bhakti contains Anubhav, how Bhakti contains Sattvic or Vyabhichari Bhav, how Bhakti contains Vibhav, Anubhav, Sattvic Bhav and Vyabhichari Sanchari Bhav, and how Bhakti is displayed in the 5 forms of Sthai Bhav. And then when the Bhakti is mixed with the 4 constituents of Rasa Samagris, when the Bhakti is mixed, when the Sthai Bhav or Sthai Rati is mixed with Vibhav, Anubhav, Sattvic and Vyabhichari, then the Bhakti transforms into Ras. What happened is all the other Acharyas before Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Rupa Goswami, they established Bhakti on a very exalted level, no doubt. Ramanuj supported Bhakti, the philosophy of surrender and the doctrine of Bhakti, the Siddhanta of Prapatti and Sharanagati and all that. All the other Acharyas, they have highlighted Bhakti very in a very nice way, in a very artistic way, but all the acharyas, they failed to establish bhakti on the basis of Rasa Shastra. They failed to explain how bhakti turns into ras. How bhakti turns into ras, they failed to show the practical process. And Rupa Goswami showed the whole technical process, how sthai rati or sthai bhav turns into ras by becoming mixed with the four constituents known as Anubhav, Vibhav, Satvik and Vavichari. That's the whole thing. That's Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. And that is why Vishwanath Chakravarti prays, Bhakti Purva Yahishrita. Devotional service unto the lotus feet of Lord Krishna was pre-existing even before Rupa, Sanatana and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But what's the unique contribution of Mahaprabhu and his followers? The unique contribution is that they have established Bhakti as Rasatmika. They have fulfilled the prediction of Taittiriya Upanishad. Taittiriya Upanishad, coming in the Vedas, states very clearly the eighth chapter of the Brahmana, the Valli of Taittiriya Upanishad, states very clearly Raso Vai Saha, that Shri Krishna, Saha, that Shri Krishna, Vai is certainly Rasaha, is certainly the embodiment of all the 12 rasas. Raso Vai Saha, Rasam Hyevayam Labdhvanandi Bhavati. And Srimad Bhagavatam 10th canto, Shukdev Goswami also states very clearly in the 43rd chapter of 12th canto, Mallanam Shadirnrinam Naravaro Strinam Smaro Murtiman. He states very clearly how Shri Krishna is the embodiment of all the 12 rasas. But nowhere, in no part of the Shastra, has it been explained how Bhakti practically turns into rasa. It has been stated that Bhakti is Rasatmika, Bhakti is full of rasas. It has been stated in many different parts of Vedas, Puranas and Samhitas, and in the writings of many previous acharyas. It has been stated very clearly how Bhakti is full of rasas. And it has also been stated very clearly how Krishna is the embodiment, is the personification of all the 12 rasas, Akhila Rasamrita Murti. But the practical and logical and technical, methodical, systematical process of how actually all the 5 types of ratis they turned into rasa was not shown before. The real process was not shown. It was said Bhakti is rasa and that Krishna is also rasa rupa. But how Bhakti turns into rasa, only Srila Rupa Goswami has shown for the first time in the whole day of Brahma. Bolo Shri Shri Gaur Nitari ki, Shri Shri Radha Nila Madhava ki, Shri Shri Sitaram Lakshmana Hanuman ki. So, this is the most unique contribution of Sri Mahaprabhu and Srila Rupa Goswami, and that is why Srila Rupa Goswami occupies the par excellent position among all the associates of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And this Sri Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, we are very fortunate that it has appeared in that particular Kaliyug when we are present. Otherwise, there are 999 Kaliyugas when Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu is not present, when Ujjwala Neelamani is not present, and when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and none of his associates are present, and nobody knows the whole concept of Parakiya Bhav, of Manjari Bhav, of the Ragatmika and Raganuga forms of devotional services, and all these very high esoteric things. This is the real reason why Mahaprabhu has come, and this is the real reason. Otherwise, there are many acharyas. We could have chosen any sampradaya for performing the other forms of devotional practices. All the other sampradayas are taking us there. But what's the unique contribution? That's the unique contribution, and that's why we should always remain indebted and obligated to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, his followers, especially the 6 Goswamis, and all the successive acharyas following Rupa Goswami's footsteps, known as Rupanuga acharyas. And the foremost Rupanuga acharya is Abhay Charanarvind Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, who has established this mission, International Society for Krishna Consciousness, just to fulfill this mission of Mahaprabhu and Rupa Goswami. That's the mission Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Thus ends the 3-day seminar on the Nectar of Devotion in the ISKCON of Seattle Temple and Vedic Cultural Center. And any questions or comments by anyone in the audience? We have 5 more minutes, we can take them. Yes.
You had said that there were 3 reasons.
Yes.
So the first reason was Sankirtan.
Yes.
And the third reason was
To
understand the Radhika's love for Krishna.
Yes.
What was the second reason?
The second reason, the intermediate reason, was to establish devotional service on the basis of Rasa Shastra and to reveal the nature of Raganuga Bhakti, Ragatmika Bhakti, and to reveal the nature of especially the mood of cowherd damsels of Vrindavan. That's known as Gopi Bhav. For all these things, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared. That's the intermediate reason. To establish this devotional service of Vrindavan, Vraj Bhakti, Vraj Ras, Vraj Bhakti. That's the intermediate reason. Yes.
My thing is it has Srila Rupa Goswami done this because people today are so dumb that they cannot develop the love out of their own? They need the scriptures to tell you what to do. And maybe before this, the people could just get the bhakti out of their.
No, actually, it will not be an exaggeration to say that the unique contribution of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Rupa Goswami up to some extent was known by the preceding other acharyas, but there are many things which are not known by any other acharya or by any other Vaishnava Sampradaya coming before Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Especially the whole concept of paramount love, Parkhiya Bhav, that is not found anywhere before. So, but the root cause, the faint traces of paramount love of the cowherd damsels of Vrindavan is found in Srimad Bhagavatam 10th canto, when Shukdev Goswami uses the word every now and then, jar bhav, etc. Jar means paramount type of love. But that has not been elaborated upon, even in Bhagavatam. So, actually Mahaprabhu has what? Aradhyo Bhagavan Vrajesha Tanayah Tadhama Vrindavanam Ramya Kachid Upasana Vrajavadhu Vargena Ya Kalpita Srimad Bhagavatam Praman Mamalam Premapumarthu Mahan Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Mathamidam Tatradaruna Paraha. This is the sum and total, this is the sum and substance of whole doctrine of Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That is, that Shri Krishna of Vrindavan is the highest worshipable deity. Aradhya Bhagavan Vrajesha Tanayah Taddama Vrindavanam Ramya Kachid Upasana Vrajavadhu Vargena Ya Kalpita. And the highest form of devotion is the paramount type of love that the cowherd damsels of Vrindavan are having for Sri Radha and Krishna. And Srimad Bhagavatam is the most important scripture, spotless evidence. Srimad Bhagavatam Pramanamalam and Prema Pumartho Mahan, unalloyed transcendental love for the lotus feet of the Lord, is the highest Purusharth, is the par excellent goal, discarding the four so-called Purusharthas of Dharma, Artha, Kama and Moksha. This is the sum and total of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's doctrine. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu matam idam tatradaruna paraha. Any other opinion, we will not have so much respect for other opinion as we will have for this opinion of Srimad Mahaprabhu, who is Krishna himself. Yes.
I have heard that generally for neophytes,
Yes.
it is told that even when we worship Radha and Krishna,
Yes.
we have to consider them as Narayana and Lakshmi, because it's very difficult, or it is very high to go to the worship of Radha and Krishna. So
Yes.
So I have this doubt. Maybe.
Well, you see, Radha and Krishna are in one way Lakshmi and Narayana, because all the partial expansions are present within the original Swayam Bhagavan.
So if you look at other sampradayas,
Yes.
when our understanding of bhakti is too low, maybe this is too. I sometimes think it is too high for me.
Yes.
So maybe other sampradayas which teach about bhakti, like karma mishra bhakti, or work and then give the results to Krishna. Maybe that is good enough for most people.
Yes, in a basic fundamental initial move towards the path of pure bhakti, those basic processes are very much helpful. Yes, and if you will read the whole conversation between Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Rai Ramanand, the first thing is giving the results of one's karmas or actions unto the personality of Godhead. So yes, that's an initial move towards the final destination of Braj Ras and of Braj Bhakti. So yes, the other sampradayas, they are very much useful for making us purified and for making us elevated to the highest level. But that thing can even be done through Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's own line. It's not that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's line only talks about the most exalted form of devotion. We also have a systematical process beginning from Shraddha, then Sadhu Sang, then Bhajan Kriya, then Anartha Nivritti, then Nishtha, then the stage of Ruchi, then the stage of Asakti, then the stage of Bhav, then the stage of Prem, and even after the stage of Prem, the stages of Smeh, Man, Pranay, Rag, Arurag, Bhav, and then Mahabhav, which is the last stage of devotion. So we also have the whole systematic process beginning from A to Z, or in America they say A to Z. So we have the same process. So actually there is no need of taking support or help from any other sampradaya. If we are initiated within Sri Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya, within this disciplic line of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, there is no need to practically take support of any other sampradaya. Yes, we can appreciate many of the teachings of those sampradayas which are conducive for us and which are not controversial for us, which are we can take support of their scriptures and their knowledge also. But as far as the process of bhakti is concerned, our sampradaya has everything, down from beginning to the end. क्रिया ततो अनर्थ निवृत्ति ततो निष्ठा तथा भक्ति ततो भाव ततः प्रेमाभ्युदंचति साधकानां अयं प्रेमः प्रादुर्भावी भवेत् क्रमः. The whole process is also present here. Any other question?
So, a related question to this question.
Yeah.
Different sampradayas bring people to different levels. We are talking about the highest level, but how many people really come to even bhava stage?
Very few. Because Rupa Goswami himself says that bhava bhakti is very, very rarely obtained, sudurlabha. It's not that everyone you see with a Vaishnava tilak and the Vaishnava sign in the Vaishnava dress is on the level of bhava bhakti. That is something internal, not external. And sometimes even a person who is not apparently looking like a Vaishnava may be on the level of bhava. When you come to the real point of devotional aspect, then formalities have very less importance sometimes. So yes, there are many instances in the history where formality have not played a greater role. It doesn't mean that the formality is not needed. In the initial stage, formality is needed. But formality is not the only basis of deciding who has reached the most highest platform of devotion. There are many examples in the history also. Once upon a time, Gadadhar Pandit Goswami, he himself became confused. He thought that Pundrik Vidyanidhi is a Vishayi, is completely engrossed in sense gratification. But then Mahaprabhu corrected him. No. Just if you want to test him, just say one shloka of Bhagavatam, Barahapidam Natavaravapuhu. And immediately when Gadadhar Pandit and Mukund Datta, they sung this verse, Barahapidam Natavaravapuhu of Bhagavatam, Pundrik Vidyanidhi, who was being fed by his associates and who was being given the tambul leaf, the bitter nut to chew, he became, and who was thinking that he became completely unconscious in Ashta Sattvic Bhava. So that proved that he was on the highest level of devotion. So yes. Yeah, and any other question? That's fine, right? Any other question? Okay. Yeah, please. Yes. Oh, our acharyas have very nicely explained. Actually, the only people authorized to actually comment on Ras Panchadhyay are the acharyas of our sampradaya. One can say, oh, this is a very biased comment, very prejudicial statement. The reason is, the acharyas of our sampradaya are manjaris. They are maid servants of Srimati Radhika. They have simultaneously appeared as acharyas, but in their original form they are still serving Radha and Krishna in their eternal pastimes of Vrindavan. So, Sanatan Goswami is Lavang Manjari, Rupa Goswami is Rupa Manjari, Raghunath Das Goswami is Rati Manjari. These are all incarnations of different gopis of Vrindavan. So, in order to comment on Ras Panchadhyay, only the acharyas of our sampradaya are the most legitimate. Now, their authority cannot be questioned. They are even more authorized than Veda Vyas. In which sense? Because Vyasadeva is just a partial expansion of Kshirodakshay Vishnu. Now what to speak of Shiravakshai Vishnu, even Mahanarayan of Mahavaikuntha doesn't have access to the confidential pastimes of Golok Vrindavan. Even the consort of Mahanarayan, Goddess Lakshmi Rama, she doesn't even have access to enter into the Rasalila pastimes of Vrindavan. Bhagavatam, the wives of the Kaliya Ram, in their prayers to Krishna, they have very clearly stated, Nayam Shriyonga Unitantarate Prasadaha Svaryosham Narina Gandarucham Kotornyaha. Even Lakshmi Devi, Shri, Goddess of Fortune, doesn't have access. So, then how can Vyasadeva have real access? Vyasadeva is just having a partial knowledge about this confidential pastimes of Vrindavan. The real knowledge about these confidential pastimes, in full-fledged way, only is possessed by our acharyas, because they are directly the Manjaris and Gopis serving in Rasa Leela. So that authority cannot be doubted. Now, Sanatana Goswami and Vishwanath Chakravarti Pal, and also Jiva Goswami, in their various commentaries on Srimad Bhagavatam, like Krama Sandarbh Tika, Brihad Vaishnav Toshni, Lagu Vaishnav Toshni, Brihad Krama Sandarbh, then Lagu Krama Sandarbh, and then Sararth Darshini, etc., they have all explained that the words Anaya Adito Nunam, Bhagavan Harishwaraha, Yanno Vihaya Govindaha, Prito Yamana Yatraha, Anaya Adito Nunam. This is the verse from the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam during the Ras Panchadhyayi section. During the Ras Panchadhyayi's explanation, this verse is taken from there. So in that verse, Shukadeva Goswami is very indirectly mentioning Srimati Radhika. So there are only two places, Vishnu Puran and Srimad Bhagavatam. These are the only two scriptures which do not mention Srimati Radhika's name in a clear way. All the other Puranas, Brahma Vaivat Puran, Brahmanda Puran, and all the other 16 Puranas, all the other different Upanishads like Gopal Tapni Upanishad, Radhika Rahasya Upanishad, which are found in the original four Vedas, and there are many different Sahitas and Tantras and Agam Nigams and Shruti Smritis which have very clearly stated Srimati Radhika's name. Now, why Srimad Bhagavatam doesn't state Radhika's name clearly? Our Acharyas have explained that Shukadeva Goswami is the transcendental parrot of Srimati Radhika. In the eternal pastimes of Vrindavan, Shukadeva Goswami stays as a pet parrot of Srimati Radhika. And he is incarnated simultaneously as Shukadeva Goswami to deliver Parikshit Maharaj and to give this Bhagavatam to the conditioned living entities. So when Shukadeva Goswami will take the name of her mistress, Radhika, in a clear way, he will go in a trance which will last for 6 months, in separation of Srimati Radhika, in Vipralang Bhav, in separation of Srimati Radhika, in separation from her mistress. That Shukha, that beloved parrot of Radhika, will go and become immersed in such a deep trance, not a transient trance, but a very profound trance that will not end, that will not cease until 6 months. And Shukadeva Parikshit Maharaj only had 7 days. The whole Bhagavatam would be stopped there. And the thousands and thousands of devotees and Rishi Maharshis and Devatas who had assembled to listen Bhagavatam, they will also become bewildered and go away one by one. Nobody will wait for 6 months like that. And that is why Shukadeva Goswami purposefully, he doesn't want to take the name of Radhika, but now one can question, if he is thinking in his mind, if Shukadeva Goswami is thinking in his mind that I do not want to take the name of Radhika, he is thinking of Radhika. By thinking, he doesn't go to the trance, but by uttering the name, he will go to trance. What kind of logic is this? Oh, yes, very nice logic. Sanatana Goswami explains that Nama Sankirtan is more powerful than Smaranam. Nama Sankirtan is more powerful than Smaranam. By Smaranam, one is not able to go in such a deep trance, but by Nam Sankirtan one is able to go. And he cites hundreds and hundreds of proofs to prove how Sankirtan is more prominent than Smaranam, and how sometimes the cowherd themselves of Vrindavan, by remembering Krishna, as soon as they started uttering Krishna Nam, they would immediately go to the trance. So then he has proved that Shukadeva Goswami, he doesn't want to directly utter the name of Radhika. So, from his mouth, Saraswati Devi indirectly made the name of Srimati Radhika publicized. Anaya Radhito Nunam. That's the shlok. Anaya Aradhitaha. The gopis, after that Shri Krishna has taken Srimati Radhika in a secluded place, leaving all the other gopis. At that time the gopis are thinking and they are talking with each other. Certainly, this particular gopi, which has been taken away by Shri Krishna to a secluded place, must be the greatest worshipper of Sri Krishna. The word Aradhana means worship. And this gopi must have worshipped Sri Krishna in an utmost sense, in ultimate sense. She must be the greatest worshipper of Sri Krishna. Anaya aradhitaha Bhagavan Harihi. By this gopi, Bhagavan Hari is worshipped in an ultimate, utmost sense. So the word Radha, the name Radha also comes from the verbal root Radh. So the same verbal root Radh, which makes the noun Radha, also makes the noun Aradhana. And Aradhana and Radha have the same meaning. Because Srimati Radhika is the embodiment of Madanakhya Mahabhava, and because Madanakhya Mahabhava is the highest type of love, is the ultimate form of love available for Sri Krishna. That's why Srimati Radhika is considered the personification of the most highest form of devotional service for Sri Krishna, and that's why she is known as Radhika, and that's why if we say Aradhitaha, it has the same meaning. That one gopi who has performed the greatest worship of Krishna, and that is certainly Srimati Radhika, because Padma Purana very clearly states, Yatha Radha Priya Vishnu Tasya Kundam Priyam Tatha Sarva Gopishu Saivaika Vishnu Ratyanta Vallabha, that this Srimati Radhika is the most dear to Sri Krishna, and just like Srimati Radhika is dear to Krishna, so her Kund, Radha Kund, is also in equal way dear to Sri Krishna. And in all the gopis, Sarva Gopishu, in all the gopis of Vrindavan, trillions and trillions of gopis of Vrindavan, Sa Eva Eka, only she is. Eva means only, and Eka means only one. Only that one Srimati Radhika among all the different gopis of Vrindavan is the most dear, or is ultimately dear to Sri Krishna. Ultimately dear means no one can be more dear than Srimati Radhika to Sri Krishna. That's the ultimate state of being dear to Krishna. Atyanta Vallabha. Vallabha means be dear, and Atyanta means the ultimate sense of being dear. Sarva Gopishu Saiveka Vishnu Ratyanta. That is Padma Puran. So Anaya Radhitaha, that one gopi which has been taken away by Sri Krishna, that certainly means only Srimati Radhika, no one else. Yes.
So the third and most important reason for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's appearance is to understand those three reasons.
Yes.
But Radhika is no other than the internal potency of Krishna himself. So how did he not know internally?
Okay. Yes. Even though Radhika is Antaranga Shakti, is part of the innate nature of Sri Krishna, but still, due to the inconceivable potency of Sri Krishna, due to the Achintya Shakti of Sri Krishna, what happens is that internal potency of Sri Krishna, whatever she is thinking and feeling, Sri Krishna is able to know theoretically, but he is not able to experience it personally. Just like what is going on in the mind of a small child sometimes is known by the mother. Sometimes a small child is not able to speak very clearly. Now, but by the gestures of that child, the mother is able to deduct what is going on in the mind of the child. But that is still different from being a child. Mother can know what the child actually wants and what the child is actually desiring, but she is not experiencing the same mood the child is experiencing. Mother is not thinking that I am a child of 3 months of age. Mother is not feeling as helpless as her child. Child is feeling helpless. Child is not able to expose his sentiments verbally. These difficulties are not found with the mother. So even though the mother can theoretically understand what child wants, she is not able to practically realize the exact position of a child, how child will be in this position. Second example, more clear. As long as a conditioned living entity found both in male and or female genders doesn't reach the adolescent age of puberty, 16 or 15 years of age, until that time, if you instruct a 10 years old child about the sexual life, then he will not be able to understand it practically. He will only be able to understand it theoretically, and that also he will have much difficulty to understand. But those desires that arise after puberty, in every conditioned living entity, both in the male and female genders, those desires and those practical stages of the adolescent age are only understood, are only grasped by the mind if one actually comes to that stage of either being 15 or 16 years of old. Right? You can theoretically try to make a little child understand. He might even theoretically understand it, but he will not be able to practically experience those feelings, those amorous feelings that the members of the opposite gender have for each other until he reaches the stage of puberty. In the same way, Shri Krishna is not able to. Shri Krishna understands what is going on in the mind of Srimati Radhika, but because he is not in the same position of Radhika, he cannot practically realize it in the same way. Now another question is that Shri Krishna and Srimati Radhika are completely non-different. Now the example of a child and mother given, the child is different from the mother, the existence. And the example of a small boy given, but those examples, the two people are different from each other. Here Radha and Krishna are not different. But even though Radha and Krishna are not different, due to the inconceivable potency known as Yoga Maya, Radha and Krishna, although they are one person, they are not two different entities, they are completely one. Ekatmanav, they are ekatma, only one soul and two bodies, in one sense. They are ekatma, they are one person, but even though they are one person, due to the Yoga Maya Shakti, they have different feelings, different identifications. Krishna doesn't think that I am Radhika, Radhika doesn't think that I am Krishna. They have different identification, they have different egos. Ego means identification, who I am. They have different egos, they have different thinking, feeling and willing propensities from each other. Even though they are not two different entities, that's the most inconceivable part of Krishna Leela, that's the Achintya Shakti. That is all explained by our acharyas. That's why Shri Krishna cannot realize the mood of Srimati Radhika as long as he stays as Krishna, as long as he stays in the ego that I am a cowherd boy, I am the son of Nand Maharaj. He has to transform his ego and he has to start thinking that no, I am daughter of Rishabhanu. And that Krishna is my Prananath, and only then he will be able to understand and practically realize Srimati Radhika's position, otherwise it was not. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. If you want to learn more, and there is one book by Vishwanath Thakur in Sanskrit known as Prem Samput. He has also explained all these internal sentiments of Krishna and Radha. How, even though they are one person, they have different ways of thinking, willing and feeling, etc. Okay. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol.